The Grand Army of the Republic at its prime was said to be one of the most strongest forces in the entire galaxy, headed not only by their Jedi commanders, but by the clones. And these clones, before the fall of the Republic, would be viewed as heroes and liberators, freeing the people from the evil of the Separatist forces. Yet after Order 66 and the Sith Lords' rise to power, things change. The galaxy that once viewed them as heroes soon grew to hate them and view them less than human. But why? During the Clone Wars, the Separatist factions were widely viewed as the villains of the conflict, and for good reason. Led by tyrants like Count Dooku and supported by cold mechanical droid armies, the Separatists left countless planets devastated in their pursuit of power. Yet standing between them and total galactic chaos was the clones and the Grand Army of the Republic. Brave, loyal soldiers bred for one purpose: to protect the Republic and its people. These troopers fought and died alongside their Jedi generals, earning the admiration and gratitude of citizens across the galaxy. But that admiration wouldn't last, as when the war ended and the Republic suddenly transformed into the Galactic Empire, the once celebrated clones became a symbol of fear, oppression, and betrayal. No longer were they hailed as protectors. Instead, they were distrusted, hated, and in many cases, discarded. So what caused this dramatic shift in public perception? One of the prime reasons was actually Order 66. While it's common knowledge that the Jedi were not universally adored, they were deeply respected in many corners of the galaxy. Their leadership during the war and their reputation as peacekeepers meant that millions, if not billions, saw them as noble guardians. So when the clones, once their noble allies, turned on them and executed them en masse, many were left stunned. While Palpatine framed this event as a necessary response to a Jedi coup, not everybody bought the story. Underground whispers and sympathetic citizens sparked outrage and suspicion. But the real tragedy? The public didn't know the truth. The clones were not acting out of their own free will. They were forced upon it by their inhibitor chips, designed to override their free will and force them to obey orders without question. However, this information, unfortunately, was not common knowledge, intentionally kept secret by the Empire, and without the full story, many people assumed the worst of the clones and believed they had chosen to betray the Jedi on their own free will, and to them, the clones became traitors in their own right. The next reason the clones were so hated was after the war, the role of the clone troopers shifted dramatically. No longer did they fight to defend the Republic, they now served as the muscle of the Empire. Instead of liberating planets, they were deployed to control them. We saw this clearly on Ryloth, where clone forces, once welcomed as heroes, were now the face of occupation, enforcing the will of a regime ruled by fear. Like what we saw in Bad Batch. After the Clone Wars ended, the clone troopers were not sent home. They were repurposed. The Empire used them as their enforcers. On Ryloth, the clone forces under Crosshair and Admiral Rampart are shown intimidating and arresting Cham Syndulla and his people, despite the planet already helping the Republic during the war. Even though some of the clones resisted these orders or even rebelled, the vast majority of them followed these commands. The shift in their roles were stark, and the public noticed. They weren't protectors anymore. They were tools of oppression. This fueled a growing resentment towards them. Another reason of public hatred was the lack of individuality. During the Clone Wars, the clones were allowed to express individuality among them, and many painted their armor, chose names for themselves, and built bonds with their Jedi generals and each other. But under the Empire, that identity was stripped away. Once the Empire took control, they were instead referred to as their CT numbers instead of the names they chose. They were forced to wear the standard white armor and assigned shock trooper duties with little choice. The human faces that once inspired hope were now buried behind the emotionless helmets of the clones. To the people, they stopped being human. The clones became another faceless instrument of tyranny, as interchangeable and cold as the droids they once fought against. In the Bad Batch, we see the clones referred to only as their CT numbers again, with individuality being discouraged. The new Imperial officers often treated them coldly, clearly seeing them as disposable tools rather than men. While clones were genetically and technically human, the fact that they were artificially created in a lab made them deeply alien to many. The Empire, which was notoriously xenophobic and dehumanizing, didn't see the clones as equal to natural-born humans. Instead, they were a means to an end, bred for war and nothing more. In the eyes of many across the galaxy, the clones were freaks of science, expendable pawns designed by Kaminoans and discarded just as easily. In the Bad Batch, we see how new Imperial commanders saw the clones as tools, not as soldiers. The respect they had once commanded was gone. Admiral Rampart openly referred to the clones as outdated. Governor Tarkin dismisses them as a relic of a bygone era, and he begins to push for a new Stormtrooper program made up of natural-born citizens and recruits. Even the scientists of Kamino are eventually betrayed, as seen in Season 1, when the cloning facilities are bombed and shut down. Another major reason the galaxy turned its back on the clones was simply that they were no longer useful. All standard clone units aged at an accelerated rate, twice as fast as normal humans. This gave them a short prime and a limited service window. For the Empire, the clones were a costly and inefficient investment going forward. Researching a way to slow their aging or maintain their ranks would have required massive funding, and that's not what the Empire wanted. They wanted an army that was cheap and easy to control and more expandable. They wanted recruits that could be brainwashed, trained quickly, and replaced easily. The clones, despite being superior in skill, discipline, and many more factors, had served the Republic, not the Empire, and that made them a liability. Their rapid aging made them obsolete, and their loyalty to a dead system made them dangerous. In the Tarkin novel, it is made clear that Palpatine prefers a military built on loyalty to the New Order, not leftover relics from an old republic. In the Bad Batch, we see how clone cadets are phased out, facilities are shut down, and entire regiments are quietly removed from the field. A shame how the brave heroes of the Republic were hated once they outlived their purpose. But anyway, that is why the galaxy grew to hate the clones. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did and you love clones, make sure to like and subscribe, as it would help the channel out a ton. And with that, my fellow Star Wars nerds, may the Force be with you.